Okay, so what if I told you that everything alive,
And
you,
yeah.
me, that plant over there, it's all built from just a few basic ingredients?
Not like love and dreams, right? We're talking actual stuff.
Exactly. Actual tiny molecules, not
Mhm.
philosophical concepts.
It's surprisingly simple at one level, but then
Yeah,
yeah, profoundly complex when you see how it all fits together. The closer you look, the more amazing it is.
totally. And for this deep dive, our source is maybe a little unexpected. We're actually pulling from a GED test prep guide, Science and Social Studies.
Right. Now you might think a test prep guide, but honestly, stick with us here.
Yeah, because buried in this thing is a really solid overview of the core knowledge, what makes life tick, from the tiniest bits up to, well, us.
And our mission, our goal today is to basically pull out the really crucial stuff, the fascinating bits from that guide.
And explore it together, make it clear, engaging, give you a real feel for how it all connects without getting totally bogged down in like textbook details.
We're going for the essence, the big picture ideas.
Okay, let's dive in. The guide kicks things off with what it calls the molecules of life.
Right.
We're talking lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, DNA, and RNA. Now, I know those names sound maybe a bit sciencey.
A little bit, yeah. But they're literally the materials your body uses to build itself, to run itself. It's the stuff you're made of.
Okay, break it down. Lipids?
Think fats and oils, their main thing. They don't mix well with water. Super important for membranes.
Ah, okay, proteins.
Proteins are the workhorses. They do, well, almost everything. Structure, enzymes, transport. They're built from smaller units called amino acids.
Gotcha. Carbohydrates. Sounds like energy.
Primarily, yes. Sugars, starches, they're your main fuel source, but also used for structure sometimes.
So when I eat, say, chicken and rice,
Yeah.
I'm getting protein from the chicken, carbs from the rice, maybe some lipids if it was cooked in oil.
Precisely. You're taking in those raw materials, your body breaks them down, and then uses them to build your proteins, your lipids, or burns the carbs for energy.
Okay. But then there's DNA and RNA. Those are different. They're about information, aren't they?
Exactly. That's the key distinction. DNA, the famous double helix, holds all the hereditary information. It's the cell's master blueprint for everything.
The master plan. And RNA.
RNA is more like the messenger or the working copy. It takes instructions from the DNA, a process called transcription, out to the parts of the cell that build proteins.
So DNA stays safe,
Yeah.
like in the head office.
Right.
And RNA is like the blueprint copies that go out to construction site.
That's a great analogy. And then that RNA blueprint guides how the amino acids are assembled into proteins. That step is called translation. DNA to RNA to protein. That's the central flow.
Cool. Okay, so those are the molecular ingredients. What's the next level up? How are these organized?
That brings us to the cell, the fundamental unit of all life. Everything alive is made of cells.
The basic unit.
Yes, and inside many cells you have even smaller specialized structures called organelles, little organs basically, each doing a specific job.
But wait, aren't there different types of cells? The guide mentions that.
Ah, yes, a really crucial distinction. Prokaryotic versus eukaryotic cells.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the core difference?
The biggest difference is the nucleus. Eukaryotic cells like ours, and plants, fungi, animals, they have a true nucleus. It's a membrane-bound compartment that holds the DNA.
Okay, so the DNA is kept separate, protected.
Exactly. Prokaryotic cells, think bacteria, they don't have a nucleus. Their DNA, which is usually just one circular piece, just kind of floats around in the main part of the cell, the cytoplasm.
Diploid in.
Generally, yes. Prokaryotes are smaller, structurally simpler. Eukaryotes are typically larger, more complex, and they have all those membrane-bound organelles we mentioned.
Like tiny rooms inside the cell for different tasks.
Perfect analogy. Different rooms for different jobs. This compartmentalization makes eukaryotic cells way more efficient at complex tasks.
And that allows them to team up, right? To form multicellular things like us.
That's the key advantage. Eukaryotic cells can specialize, become nerve cells, muscle cells, skin cells, and work together in a coordinated way to form complex organisms. Prokaryotes are usually single-celled.
What about cell walls? The guide mentions those too.
Good point. Cell walls provide structure and protection outside the cell membrane. Prokaryotes almost always have one made of carbohydrates and proteins.
Like armor.
Kinda, yeah. For eukaryotes, it varies. Animal cells like ours, no cell wall. Plant cells have a rigid one made of cellulose. Fungi have one made of chitin. Different materials, same basic function.
Interesting. So despite these big differences, nucleus or no nucleus, complexity, do they share any basic parts?
Oh, absolutely. All cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic, have a cell membrane, that crucial outer boundary.
The lipid bilayer thing.
Exactly, that flexible barrier made of lipids controlling what comes in and goes out. They also both contain cytoplasm, the jelly-like substance filling the cell, and ribosomes, which are the little machines that actually build proteins based on the RNA instructions.
Ribosomes, the protein factories. Got it.
And both types can have things like cilia or flagella, little hair-like or whip-like tails for movement, anchored by structures called basal bodies.
Okay, so fundamental similarities.
Yeah.
But that nucleus and internal complexity really sets eukaryotes apart.
Definitely.
So let's zoom in on those eukaryotic organelles. The guide lists quite a few. It
Right.
really does sound like a tiny factory inside.
It really is a miniature city, almost. Okay, so inside the nucleus, remember that's where the DNA is. There's also the nucleolus.
Nucleolus, okay.
Yeah, its job is specifically to make ribosomes, those protein factories we just mentioned.
So the factory that makes the factories, meta.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, then you've got vesicles. Think of them as little membrane bubbles, like transport pods. They move stuff around inside the cell or bring things in that's endocytosis or ship things out exocytosis.
Little delivery trucks.
Got it.
What about the endoplasmic reticulum? Rough and smooth.
Right, the ER. The rough ER looks rough because it's studded with ribosome.
The protein factories again.
Exactly. So the rough ER is heavily involved in making proteins that are destined either for the cell membrane itself or to be shipped out of the cell.
And the smooth ER. No ribosomes.
No ribosome, so it looks smooth. Its main jobs are different, making lipids, detoxifying certain molecules. Depends on the cell type.
Okay, rough for proteins, smooth for lipids and detox. Makes sense? What's next on the tour?
The Golgi complex, or Golgi apparatus. You can think of it as the cell's post office or finishing station.
Post office.
Yeah, it receives proteins and lipids from the ER, modifies them further, maybe adds a sugar tag or something, sorts them, and then packages them into vesicles to be sent to their final destination.
Sorting and shipping.
Okay. Then there's the cytoskeleton. Not really an organelle in the same membrane-bound sense, but crucial. It's a network of protein filaments and tubules throughout the cytoplasm.
Like cell skeleton.
Exactly. Provides shape, support, strength. But it also acts like a highway system, tracks along which motor proteins can move vesicles and organelles around the cell.
Wow. Okay, scaffolding and roads. What about power?
The mighty mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell.
Need that one.
Right. They take fuel like glucose and break it down using oxygen in a process called cellular respiration. And the main point is to generate loads of ATP.
ATP, the energy currency.
That's the one. Mitochondria have a cool structure with folded inner membranes called cristae. Those folds massively increase the surface area for making ATP. More folds, more power.
Efficient design. Okay, power covered. Storage.
Vacuoles. These are membrane-bound sacs for storage, water, nutrients, waste products. Plant cells often have a huge central vacuole that's really important for maintaining pressure.
Okay. What else is on the list? Centrosome.
The centrosome is key during cell division. It helps organize the microtubules that pull the chromosomes apart, ensuring each new cell gets a proper copy.
Essential for reproduction.
Oh,
And chloroplasts. Plants only, right?
right. Plants and some algae. Chloroplasts are where photosynthesis happens. They capture light energy.
Using chlorophyll.
Exactly. Using chlorophyll, which is located in internal membrane sacs called thylakoids, they use that light energy to turn carbon dioxide and water into sugar, basically making their own food.
Solar panels and food factories combined. Cool. Two more. Peroxisomes and lysosomes. They sound similar.
They're both small, enzyme-filled sacs, but different jobs. Peroxisomes handle specific reactions like breaking down fatty acids and neutralizing harmful substances like hydrogen peroxide. They keep those dangerous reactions contained.
Okay, hazardous waste disposal.
Sort of, yeah. And lysosomes are more like the cell's recycling center. They contain digestive enzymes that break down old, worn-out organelles, debris, or stuff the cell has engulfed.
Recycling and cleanup crew.
Exactly. So you see all these different compartments: nucleolus, nucleus, ER, Golgi, mitochondria, lysosomes, each specialized, working together.
It really drives home that point about efficiency, doesn't it? Having separate rooms for different chemical reactions stops everything interfering. Division of labor.
That's a perfect summary. It allows for much greater complexity and control.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The guide also brings up viruses, which aren't cells at all, right?
Correct. Viruses are Weird. They're basically just genetic material, DNA or RNA, wrapped in a protein coat. Sometimes they have an outer envelope derived from the host cell membrane, but
But they can't do anything on their own.
nothing. They have no metabolism, no ribosomes, no way to replicate by themselves. They have to infect a living host cell.
Obligate intracellular parasites, the guide calls them.
Exactly.
Oh.
They hijack the host cell's machinery, its ribosomes, its enzymes, its energy to make more copies of the virus.
Like little biological pirates hijacking a ship. How do they know which cells to attack?
It usually comes down to proteins on the virus surface matching up with specific receptor proteins on the host cell surface, like a key fitting a lock. That's why certain viruses only infect certain types of cells or certain species.
And the results vary. Some kill the cell quickly, others hang around.
Yeah, huge variation. Some replicate rapidly and burst the host cell, cellesis. Others might integrate their genetic material into the host's DNA and lie dormant, or cause a slow, persistent infection. And they cause a ton of human diseases, obviously.
And they infect everything, right? Animals, plants, even bacteria.
Pretty much all forms of life have viruses that infect them. They're everywhere.
Ugh. Makes you grateful for your immune system.
Okay.
Let's circle back to the cell's energy. We mentioned mitochondria and ATP. How does that whole process work, basically?
Right, cell metabolism. So ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the main molecule cells use to power almost everything. Muscle contraction, building molecules, pumping ions.
The energy cache.
Exactly. And animals like us primarily get the energy to make ATP by breaking down fuel molecules, mostly glucose, which is a sugar.
From the carbs we eat.
From carbs, yeah, but also fats and proteins can be fed into the process. The most efficient way is aerobic respiration.
Aerobic means with oxygen.
With oxygen, yes. It happens largely in the mitochondria and extracts a lot of ATP from each glucose molecule.
But what if there's no oxygen? Like if you're sprinting really hard?
Then cells can switch to anaerobic metabolism or fermentation. It happens in the cytoplasm, doesn't need oxygen, but it's much, much less efficient. It generates only a tiny bit of ATP compared to aerobic respiration.
And it produces byproducts.
Yes. In our muscle cells, it produces lactic acid, which contributes to muscle fatigue. In yeast, fermentation produces ethanol, alcohol, and carbon dioxide.
Which is how we get beer and bread rising.
Exactly. Same basic biochemical pathway, different organism, different end product.
Fascinating. Okay, so we've gone from molecules to organelles to energy. Now, the guide zooms way out to the human body systems.
Right, putting it all together on the macro scale. It shows how trillions of these eukaryotic cells organized into tissues and organs work together.
It lists the main ones. Circulatory system, that's heart and blood vessels.
Yep, transporting oxygen, nutrients, hormones, waste, the body's highway system.
Digestive system, breaking down food.
Extracting nutrients, absorbing water, eliminating waste from mouth to, well, the other.
Yeah. Endocrine system.
Yeah.
Hormones, right? Slower control.
Exactly. Glands releasing hormones into the bloodstream for slower, longer-lasting regulation of things like growth, metabolism, mood. Contrasts with the nervous system.
Which is the fast one. Nerves, brain, spinal cord.
Yep. Rapid electrical and chemical signaling for quick responses, thought, sensation, control of muscles.
Okay. Excretory system. Getting rid of waste.
Primarily, the kidney is filtering waste from the blood to make urine, but also involves lungs, CO2 and skin, sweat.
Immune system, our defenders.
Cells and organs like lymph nodes, spleen, white blood cells.
Yeah.
Fighting off pathogens like those viruses and bacteria we mentioned.
Integumentary system, is that skin?
Skin, hair, nails, our outer protective barrier, also involved in temperature regulation and sensation.
Muscular system, movement.
Yep, muscles contracting to move the skeleton, pump blood, move food through the digestive tract.
Reproductive system, pretty self-explanatory.
Making babies, continuation of the species, different organs in males and females, obviously.
Respiratory system, lungs.
Taking in oxygen, getting rid of carbon dioxide, gas exchange.
And finally, skeletal system, bones.
Support, protection for organs, movement with muscles, blood cell production, mineral storage, foundation framework.
Wow. Okay, so each of these massive systems is ultimately built from specialized cells, using those molecules and energy pathways we talked about earlier.
It all connects back. Cells form tissues, tissues form organs, organs work together in systems, and the systems make the organism. It's levels upon levels of organization.
Incredible complexity. Now, the guide wraps up with a bit on health, focusing mainly on infectious diseases.
Yeah, reinforcing some practical points. It mentions how bacteria and viruses spread, hence the importance of, basic hygiene.
Hand washing, covering coughs and sneezes.
Yes.
Seems obvious, but always worth repeating.
Absolutely. And it highlights the difference between preventing and treating. Vaccines are key for preventing many viral diseases.
By training your immune system beforehand.
Exactly. While antibiotics are drugs used to treat bacterial infections.
And the guide stresses, antibiotics do not work on viruses, like the common cold or flu.
Crucial point. Taking antibiotics for a virus won't help you and contributes to the huge problem of antibiotic resistance.
And speaking of resistance, it also makes that point about finishing your entire course of antibiotics if you're prescribed them, right?
Yeah.
Even if you feel better.
Yes. Super important. Stopping early might leave behind the tougher bacteria, allowing them to multiply and potentially become resistant to that antibiotic in the future. You need to wipe them all out.
Yeah, makes sense. It also briefly touches on drug misuse.
Just to mention, really, about the risks of overusing even legal drugs and the dangers of addiction and illegal substances, a general health warning.
Right, good reminders.
Mhm.
So wrapping this up, it's pretty amazing to trace that thread, isn't it? From simple lipids and proteins.
Through the incredible organization of organelles within a single cell, like mitochondria churning out energy.
All the way up to the coordinated effort of 11 major body systems keeping us alive and functioning.
It really gives you a deeper appreciation for just how intricate life is at every single level. Understanding the fundamentals makes the complexity even more awesome, I think.
Definitely. Okay, so here's a final thought for you, the learner, to chew on. Think about that cell membrane again. Just a thin layer of lipids,
The
right?
lipid bilayer, yeah.
Yet it perfectly defines the inside from the outside. It separates, but it's also dotted with proteins that let specific things through, receive signals. It connects and communicates.
Separation and connection in one structure.
Exactly. That fundamental design principle, creating a boundary but allowing controlled interaction across it, doesn't that seem to pop up everywhere? Think about, I don't know, skin or borders between countries, or even firewalls in computer networks.
Huh. Separation and controlled communication. Yeah, I see that pattern.
So the question is, what other really fundamental principles, maybe ones we saw inside the cell, might be playing out again and again at much larger scales? Something to ponder.
Definitely food for thought. And hopefully this dive sparks some curiosity for you to maybe dig deeper into any part of this that grabbed your interest.